I stood in the hallway outside Daniel's old room, my hand frozen on the doorknob. Through the crack, I could hear my son's voice on speakerphone. "Look, I'm just saying Dad can't keep up anymore. Remember last Thanksgiving? We had to stop hiking after 20 minutes because he needed to rest." Sarah's voice crackled through. "I know, but it feels wrong not inviting him to the reunion." "We're not inviting him," Daniel said. There was a pause. I heard him sigh. "We're just being realistic. The cabin doesn't have wheelchair access. The trail to the lake is steep. He'd need help with everything. Jennifer's kids want to kayak and hike. We can't spend the whole week worrying about Dad falling or having another episode." Another episode. The words landed like a fist to the gut. I'd had one dizzy spell. One. 6 months ago at the grocery store. The doctor said it was dehydration, nothing more. But my children had decided it meant I was fragile now, breakable. "A liability. What do we tell him?" Sarah asked. "We'll say the cabin's full. Tell him we'll do something smaller at Christmas." I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I'd paid for Daniel's college education. I'd co-signed Sarah's first house. I'd driven 16 hours to help Jennifer move cross-country when she got divorced. And now, I was too much trouble for a week at the lake. I backed away from the door before they could hear me and walked downstairs on legs that felt steadier than they had in months. The family reunion was in 3 weeks. Every year, we gathered at someone's rented cabin in the Adirondacks. 23 of us, spanning 4 generations. It was the one week all year when everyone made time. When my late wife Ellen was alive, she'd spend months planning activities, coordinating meals, making sure every grandchild felt special. This would have been our 43rd reunion, the first without her. I sat in my study that night and opened my laptop. My hands didn't shake when I typed luxury lodges, Adirondacks. The North Peak Reserve appeared first in the results. I clicked through photos of timber-frame great rooms with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Mirror Lake, stone fireplaces, chef's kitchens, private boat docks. The Presidential Lodge slept 12 but was designed for intimate gatherings, according to the website. It was where families reconnect in unparalleled comfort. The rate was posted in small font at the bottom, $8,400 per week. I'd been a chemical engineer for 37 years. I'd lived modestly, invested carefully, and after Ellen passed, I'd sold our 4-bedroom house for something smaller. The kids didn't know about the investment account Ellen and I had built. They assumed I was getting by on Social Security and a small pension. I called the resort the next morning. "North Peak Reserve. This is Margot speaking. How may I help you create an unforgettable experience?" Her voice was warm, professional. I cleared my throat. "I'd like to book the Presidential Lodge. 3rd week of July. "Wonderful choice, sir. That week is available. May I have your name?" "Robert. Robert Chen." I could hear her typing. "Mr. Chen, you've selected one of our premier properties. The Presidential Lodge includes concierge service, a private chef for up to 3 meals daily, and access to all resort amenities, spa, golf course, boat rentals, guided hikes. Would you like to add any special services?" I thought about my children planning their cabin trip without me, about Jennifer's kids who wanted to kayak, about being told I couldn't keep up. "What kind of guided hikes do you offer?" "We have everything from gentle nature walks to advanced mountain trails. Our most popular is the summit hike to Crane Peak. It's challenging but absolutely spectacular. We provide experienced guides, proper equipment, and transportation." "I'll take that," I said. "And I'd like to book a private sailing lesson." "Do you offer those?" "Absolutely. Our marina director is exceptional. I'll arrange everything." "Will anyone be joining you?" The question hung in the air. "No," I said. "Just me." If Margot found that unusual, a man in his 60s booking an $8,400 lodge alone, she didn't show it. "Perfect. I'll email you the confirmation and a pre-arrival questionnaire so we can personalize your experience. Is there anything else I can help you with today?" "Actually," I said, "I'd like to arrange something. My grandchildren were hoping to go kayaking this summer. If you could have 3 kayaks ready at the dock, the good ones, and maybe some life vests in children's sizes." I trailed off, not sure what I was planning. But Margot didn't miss a beat. "Consider it done, Mr. Chen. We'll make sure everything is perfect." After I hung up, I sat very still in my study. Through the window, I could see the bird feeder Ellen had hung from the oak tree. A cardinal landed on it, bright red against the morning sky. "What do you think?" I asked her, like I had 1,000 times since she'd been gone. "Am I being petty?" The cardinal flew away. But in my mind, I could hear Ellen's laugh, the one she used when I was being too hard on myself. "You're being human, Robert. You're allowed." The next 2 weeks passed in a strange state of suspension. Daniel called twice to chat about nothing in particular. Sarah texted photos of her garden. Jennifer sent me a link to a documentary she thought I'd enjoy. Normal family contact. None of them mentioned the reunion. On the Wednesday before the trip, Sarah finally called. "Hey, Dad. How are you feeling?" "Fine," I said. "Why?" "Just checking in. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about the reunion. The cabin we rented this year is, well, it's pretty rustic. No elevator, and the bathroom situation isn't great. We thought maybe this year you might want to sit it out. We'll do something special at Christmas, just us." My chest tightened, but my voice came out calm. "That's thoughtful of you to think about my comfort," I said. "So you're okay with it?" "I'm fine, Sarah. You all have a wonderful time." "You're sure?" "We feel terrible, but I'm sure. I've actually got some plans of my own that week." "Oh?" Her surprise was evident. "Just some time away. Nothing big." We said goodbye, and I sat holding the phone for a long time afterward. The drive to the Adirondacks took 5 hours. I'd made this drive dozens of times over the years, but never alone. Ellen used to navigate, reading out landmarks and making me stop at farm stands. The kids would fight in the back seat about who had to sit in the middle. Now it was just me and the GPS voice, directing me off the interstate toward Mirror Lake. I almost missed the turn for North Peak Reserve. The entrance was marked by a subtle wooden sign and a smooth paved road that wound upward through towering pines. No rustic cabin. This was architecture designed to blend with the landscape while offering something transcendent. The main lodge appeared first, a stunning timber and stone structure that looked like it belonged in a magazine. But Margot's voice came through the car's Bluetooth system. "Mr. Chen, I'm tracking your arrival. Please continue past the main lodge. The presidential lodge is at the north end of the property. You'll see a private road marked with a blue flag." I found it. The road curved along the lake for another half-mile, before revealing my home for the week. The presidential lodge sat on its own peninsula. Massive windows reflected the late afternoon sun. A stone chimney rose 3 stories. The wraparound deck overlooked a private dock where a sailboat bobbed gently. I parked and sat in my car for a moment, suddenly unsure. What was I doing here? The front door opened, and a man in his 30s walked out, wearing casual resort attire, khaki pants, and a navy polo with the North Peak logo. "Mr. Chen? I'm Marcus, your concierge for the week. Welcome to North Peak." He was at my car door before I could fully process his appearance. Not hovering, not rushing, just present, ready to help if needed. "Thank you," I said, stepping out. My legs were stiff from the drive, but steady. "This is quite a place. Wait until you see inside. May I take your bags?" "I can manage." But Marcus had already moved to the trunk with easy efficiency. "I've got them, sir. Please, go ahead and explore." The doors open. I walked up the stone steps, no ramp needed, just well-designed gradual rises, and into a space that took my breath away. The great room soared 2 stories high. The wall facing the lake was entirely glass. A fire crackled in the stone fireplace despite the July warmth, more for ambiance than heat. Leather furniture invited you to sink in. Bookshelves lined one wall, filled with hardcovers and family games. But it was the kitchen that made me stop. It was Ellen's dream kitchen, the one she'd cut pictures out of magazines for, planning for someday when we renovate. Marble countertops, professional-grade appliances, an island big enough to prep Thanksgiving dinner, a breakfast nook with cushioned benches facing the water. "Your wife had excellent taste." I turned. A woman in her 50s stood in the kitchen doorway, wearing a chef's coat. Her smile was kind, not pitying. "I'm Chef Diane. Margot mentioned you lost your wife recently. I saw in your preferences that you requested some traditional Chinese dishes this week. I'd love to learn more about what she used to make. The tightness in my chest wasn't grief this time. It was something else. Something I hadn't felt in months. It was being seen. She made incredible dumplings, I said quietly. Pork and chive. She'd spend hours pleating them perfectly. Would you like to make them together? I'm here to cook for you, but if you'd enjoy the process. I thought about Ellen's hands, quick and sure as she folded dumpling wrappers. About teaching the grandkids how to pinch the edges. About Daniel at 7 years old. His first lumpy attempt. Ellen praising it like it was a work of art. I'd like that, I said. Wonderful. Tomorrow morning, if that works? For now, let me show you what I've prepared for tonight. She'd made roasted chicken with herbs, wild rice, and grilled vegetables. Simple. Perfect. She served it on the deck as the sun began setting over the lake, painting everything gold. Marcus appeared to ask about morning preferences. Breakfast at 8? Earlier if you'd like. Sailing lesson? For a moment, I'd forgotten. You requested it when you booked. John, our marina director, is looking forward to it. But if you'd rather do something else... No, I said. Sailing sounds perfect. After they left, I sat on the deck alone as darkness fell. Across the lake, I could see lights from other properties. Somewhere over there, maybe a mile away, my family was settling into their rustic cabin, arguing over who got which bedroom, planning tomorrow's hike. They thought I was home, unable to keep up. I pulled out my phone and almost texted Sarah a picture of the sunset. Almost said, but I didn't. This wasn't about showing them up. Not really. I woke to morning light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then the lake came into focus, mirror smooth, and I remembered. I was 67 years old, and I was at a luxury lodge alone, and I'd chosen this. Breakfast arrived at 8 exactly, fresh fruit, eggs, and coffee that tasted better than anything I'd made in my own kitchen. Chef Diane had left a note. Dumpling session at 2 p.m. if you're interested. No pressure. At 9:30, Marcus knocked. John's ready for you at the marina whenever you'd like to head down. The dock was a 5-minute walk through pine forest. John turned out to be a weathered man in his 60s, deeply tanned, with calm eyes. Robert? I'm John. Ever sailed before? Once. 40 years ago. I capsized. He laughed. Then we'll start with the basics. Come on. The sailboat was a beautiful wooden thing, all clean lines and white canvas. John spent 20 minutes on shore teaching me the ropes literally, the names of things, how wind worked, the physics of sailing, which appealed to my engineering brain. Ready to give it a try? We pushed off. For the first 10 minutes, I was certain I'd capsize again. But John talked me through each adjustment, each shift of weight, and then, suddenly, I felt it the moment when the wind caught right, when the boat stopped fighting and started gliding. There you go, John said. You've got it. We sailed for 2 hours. John mostly stayed quiet, letting me focus, only speaking up when I needed correction. The lake stretched out around us, mountains rising on all sides. I'd forgotten how quiet the world could be, just wind and water and the occasional cry of a loon. When we docked, my arms ached in a good way. My face felt sunburned. I felt alive. Same time tomorrow? John asked. Yes, I said. Definitely yes. The rest of the day passed in a kind of gentle peace. I made dumplings with Chef Diane, my hands remembering motions I hadn't performed since Ellen died. We talked about cooking, about her family, about nothing important. Marcus brought me a book I'd mentioned wanting to read. I sat on the deck and read until dinner. That evening, after another perfect meal, I walked down to the lake's edge. The moon was rising, full and white. I could hear laughter from somewhere across the water. Probably not my family. But maybe. I wondered if they'd asked about me. If Jennifer's kids had said, "Where's Grandpa?" If Daniel had felt guilty. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "Hope you're having a good week, Dad. "We're thinking of you." I typed back, "Having a wonderful time. Enjoy the reunion." She responded with a heart emoji. Nothing more. The second day, I hiked to Crane Peak with a guide named Maria. She was in her 20s, studying environmental science, and she matched her pace to mine, without making it obvious. "Take your time," she kept saying. "It's not a race." The trail was steep in places. My knees protested. My lungs burned. But I kept going, one step at a time, using the walking pole Maria had provided. When we reached the summit, the view spread out for miles. Mountain ranges layered like waves, fading to blue in the distance. "Your family's going to love the pictures," Maria said, offering to take my photo. I handed her my phone. Let her take a few shots of me at the summit, wind-blown and smiling. But I didn't send them to anyone. The third morning, I woke early and took the kayak out alone. Marcus had shown me how the evening before, and I'd practiced in the cove near the lodge. Now I paddled out toward the sunrise, my strokes getting stronger with each pull. I was maybe a quarter-mile from shore when I heard voices. 3 kayaks appeared around a bend in the shoreline. I recognized Jennifer's laugh before I saw her face. Then I saw the kids, Emma, 12, and Lucas, 9. And bringing up the rear, Daniel, his bald spot catching the early sun. They saw me at the same moment I saw them. We all stopped paddling, just floating there in the middle of Mirror Lake, staring at each other. "Dad?" Daniel's voice carried across the water, uncertain. "What are you? How did you?" I raised a hand in greeting. Calm, collected, like this was the most natural thing in the world. "Beautiful morning for kayaking," I called. Jennifer paddled closer, her face a mixture of shock and confusion. "Are you staying nearby?" "We thought," Sarah said. "I'm at the Presidential Lodge." I gestured vaguely toward my peninsula. "North Peak Reserve." Emma, my granddaughter, paddled right up to me. "Grandpa, that's so cool. Can we see it? They have the best snack bar there. And a pool with a water slide." "How do you know that?" I asked. "Because we've been sneaking over there every day," Lucas piped up. "The cabin's boring. There's no Wi-Fi, and the shower's gross." "Lucas!" Jennifer hissed. Daniel had gone very quiet. He was doing the math in his head, I could tell. Looking at my kayak, a high-end model from the resort. Looking at my windbreaker with the North Peak logo. Looking at me, his father who supposedly couldn't keep up, who'd been excluded for his own good. "How long have you been here?" Daniel asked quietly. "Since Sunday. 3 days. The same day they'd arrived." The silence stretched out. I could see the guilt blooming on my son's face. The realization hitting Jennifer. They'd lied to protect me from a difficult week, and I'd been here the whole time, clearly managing just fine. Better than fine. "Listen," I said, before anyone could apologize or make excuses. "I've got 3 extra kayaks sitting at my dock. Good ones. And Chef Diane is making lunch around noon. You're welcome to come by. All of you." "Dad." "We didn't mean Daniel started." "I know," I said. And I did. They'd meant well. They'd seen an aging father and made assumptions. It hurt, but I understood it. "Noon. You know where to find me." I paddled away before anyone could respond. My arms burned. My heart was pounding. But I kept my strokes smooth and steady until I rounded the bend and they couldn't see me anymore. Then I let myself stop. Let myself float there on the glassy water. Let myself feel everything, the hurt. Yes, but also the pride. I'd hiked a mountain. I'd learned to sail. I'd kayaked at sunrise. I'd done it all without needing anyone's permission or help. They came at noon. All 23 of them. Sarah had been called, apparently, and she'd driven up from the cabin with her husband and kids. They streamed up the path to the Presidential Lodge in a small parade, carrying towels and sunscreen, the kids running ahead. Marcus met me on the deck 10 minutes before they arrived. "Sir, I wanted to confirm your party of 23 for lunch. Is that a problem?" "Not at all. Chef Diane is delighted. She's prepared quite a spread, and I've set up the lawn games, cornhole, badminton, volleyball net. The kayaks are ready. Will they need life vests?" For the children, yes. He nodded and started to leave, then paused. Mr. Chen? I don't know the story, but whatever it is, I hope this is what you needed. It was. When my family arrived, I watched them take in the lodge, saw Daniel's eyes widen at the great room, watched Sarah run her hand over the marble countertops in Ellen's dream kitchen, heard the kids whoop when they saw the lake access and the boats. Dad, Sarah said quietly, finding me on the deck. This place is incredible. How did you, your mother and I saved well, I said simply. Jennifer appeared with Emma and Lucas in tow. I owe you an apology. You don't. I do. We all do. We made assumptions. We decided what you could and couldn't handle without asking you. Her eyes were wet. I'm sorry. Daniel joined us, his jaw tight. I'm the one who said you couldn't keep up. I convinced everyone. Dad, I'm so sorry. I looked at my 3 children, all of them grown, all of them flawed and human and trying their best. Just like I was. I forgive you, I said. But I need you to understand something. I'm 67, not 90. I had one dizzy spell. One. And you decided I was fragile. I paused, making sure they were really hearing me. I'm still here. I'm still capable. And when you exclude me to protect me, it doesn't feel like love. It feels like being erased. Sarah was crying now. Daniel looked at his shoes. Jennifer nodded slowly. You're right, Jennifer said. You're absolutely right. So here's what we're going to do, I said. We're going to have lunch. Then the kids are going to kayak, and anyone who wants to join them can. Tonight, Chef Diane is making a feast, and you're all invited. And tomorrow, before you leave, we're going to sit down as a family and talk about expectations. Real ones, not assumptions. Okay, Daniel said. Yeah, okay. The afternoon unfolded like the reunions I remembered from better years. The kids kayaked until they were exhausted, then played on the lawn while the adults sat on the deck. Chef Diane served platter after platter Ellen's dumplings, which I'd helped make, along with grilled fish and fresh salads and desserts that had the grandkids begging for seconds. At one point, Sarah sat next to me, watching her daughter attempt a cartwheel on the grass. Mom would have loved this place, she said softly. I know. Is that why you came? Because of her? I thought about that. Partly. But mostly I came because I needed to prove something to myself. That I could. You definitely proved it. She squeezed my hand. You're kind of a badass, Dad. I laughed. Language. Sarah, I'm 42. I'm allowed to curse. That evening, as the sun set over Mirror Lake, I stood on the dock with my family scattered around me. Some were still kayaking. Others sat on the deck. The youngest kids were roasting marshmallows in the fire pit Marcus had prepared. It wasn't the reunion they'd planned. But it was better. Daniel walked down to join me. We stood there in silence for a while, watching the last light fade from the sky. I really am sorry, he said finally. I thought I was helping. I know. And I forgive you. But Daniel, you need to let me make my own choices about what I can handle. Even if those choices sometimes mean I need to rest, or ask for help, or decide not to do something. That has to be my call, not yours. You're right. When you had that dizzy spell, it scared me. I thought, what if something happens and I'm not there? What if we push you too hard and then that's my risk to take, I said gently. I'd rather live fully and risk falling than be wrapped in bubble wrap and told it's for my own good. He nodded, wiped his eyes. Deal. We stood there as full dark fell and the stars came out, reflected in the still water. Somewhere behind us, I heard Ellen's favorite song playing. One of the kids must have found the speaker system. Marcus had probably shown them. Hey, Dad, Daniel said. Tomorrow, before we leave, would you teach me to sail? I saw you go out this morning. You looked really happy. My throat tightened. I'd love that. The next morning, John and I took Daniel out on the water. My son, who'd decided I couldn't keep up, watched as I handled the ropes and adjusted the sails with hands that remembered what to do. John mostly sat back and let me teach, only occasionally offering corrections. When the wind caught just right and we picked up speed, Daniel laughed out loud. Pure, surprised joy. This is amazing. Dad, you're really good at this. I'm learning, I said. That's the point. We're all always learning. We sailed until mid-morning, when Daniel had to pack up and drive his family back to the city. When we docked, he hugged me tighter than he had in years. Thank you, he said, for forgiving us, for showing up, for this. After they all left a caravan of cars winding back down the mountain, horns honking goodbye, I sat on the deck alone. 4 days left in my week. 4 days of quiet mornings and sailing lessons and hikes. 4 days of Chef Diane's cooking and Marcus's thoughtful service, and the particular peace that comes from choosing yourself. My phone buzzed. A group text from Jennifer to the whole family. Dad hiked a mountain this week. At 67. Meanwhile, I got winded walking to the cabin bathroom. New life goal. Be like Grandpa when I grow up. Sarah replied with a string of laughing emojis and same. Daniel added, he also sails now and makes better dumplings than any restaurant. I'm retiring early to keep up with him. I smiled and put the phone away. Let them have their jokes, their newfound appreciation. I knew it wouldn't last forever. Life would get busy again. Assumptions would creep back in. But maybe now, when they looked at me, they'd see past the gray hair and the occasional need to rest. Maybe they'd remember that I was still here, still capable, still choosing how to live each day. That afternoon, I hiked alone to a waterfall Marcus had recommended. The trail was moderate, and I took my time, stopping to photograph wildflowers and listen to birds. At the waterfall, I sat on a boulder and pulled out the sandwich Chef Diane had packed. I thought about Ellen, about how she would have loved every minute of this week, the lodge, the sailing, the reconciliation with our kids. She always was better at letting them fail and figure things out on their own. I'd been the one who wanted to swoop in and fix everything. Now I was the one who needed to let them fix things. To trust that they'd learned something. I'm doing okay, I told her. There at the waterfall where no one could hear. I'm lonely sometimes, but I'm okay. The water rushed over the rocks, constant and sure. Somewhere in the forest, a woodpecker drummed against a tree. Life, continuing, moving forward. I finished my sandwich and hiked back to the lodge, my steps sure on the rocky trail. That evening, Chef Diane knocked on my door with a surprise. I know you're scheduled to leave Sunday, but I wanted to show you something. She handed me a small, leather-bound book. These are all the recipes we made this week. I wrote them out for you, and I included some notes like how your wife used to pleat dumplings, the stories you told me. I thought you might want to pass it on to your grandchildren someday. I opened the book. There, in her careful handwriting, were Ellen's dumplings, the roasted chicken recipe. Notes like Robert's wife Ellen always added extra ginger. He says it was her secret, and this was their anniversary dinner. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. It was an honor cooking with you this week, Robert. You remind me of my father. He's gone now, but he was like you, always learning, always growing. Never let getting older stop him from living. After she left, I sat with the cookbook for a long time, ran my fingers over the pages, thought about Emma and Lucas, who'd kayaked with such fearless joy, about teaching them to make dumplings someday, about passing on not just recipes but the lesson of this week. You're never too old to surprise yourself, to choose differently, to claim the life you want. On my last day, I woke before dawn and took the kayak out one final time. The lake was perfectly still, reflecting the pink sky. I paddled to the middle and just floated there, letting the current turn me slowly. 67 years old, a widower, a father who'd been excluded from the family reunion and had refused to quietly accept it. I'd proven I could keep up, but more than that, I'd proven I didn't need their permission to live fully. When I got back to the lodge, Marcus was waiting with coffee and a small wrapped package. From all of us, he said. A thank you for being our favorite guest this summer. Inside was a framed photo me at the summit of Crane Peak, windblown and grinning, and below it a quote. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. I checked out at noon, loading my car with 4 empty suitcases and 1 full heart. Chef Diane hugged me goodbye. John shook my hand and said, "Same time next year?" Marcus walked me to my car and helped load my bags, even though I didn't need help. It was the gesture that mattered. As I drove away from North Peak Reserve, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The lodge disappeared behind the trees, but I knew it would be there, waiting for when I needed it again, waiting for the next time I needed to prove something to myself. The drive home took 5 hours. I stopped at the same farm stands Ellen used to love, bought fresh corn and tomatoes, thought about planting a garden next spring, maybe taking a cooking class, maybe planning another trip somewhere I'd never been. When I pulled into my driveway, Daniel's car was parked on the street. He got out as I parked, looking uncertain. "I was worried you'd beaten me home," he said. "I wanted to help you unload. I can manage." "I know you can, Dad, but I want to help. If you'll let me." I looked at my son, really, looked at him, saw the man he'd become, flawed and loving and trying, saw myself in his face, saw Ellen's kindness in his eyes. "Okay," I said. "I'd like that." We carried my bags inside together, and when Daniel asked about my week, I told him everything. The sailing and the hiking and the dumplings, and the moment on the lake when I'd floated alone under the stars and felt completely at peace. He listened, really listened, and when I finished, he said, "I'm proud of you, Dad." 3 words. Simple. True. "Thank you," I said. After he left, I unpacked slowly, putting things away. I hung the photo from Crane Peak on my study wall, placed Chef Diane's cookbook on the kitchen counter where I'd see it every day. Tomorrow I'd call Sarah and Jennifer, tell them about the week. Maybe plan something for Christmas, something we'd decide together, all of us, with honest conversations about what everyone needed. But tonight, I sat in my study and opened my laptop, pulled up the North Peak Reserve website, looked at next summer's availability, because I was 67 years old, and I was just getting started.